Good morning, good morning. Today you find me on my journey up north to Balmoral, but I've stopped in the beautiful little Yorkshire town of Malton. So Malton's on the river Derwent. Not the same Derwent as the Lady Bower Reservoir, but a different one. Apparently there's 4 of them in the UK. And there's the town of Malton on the north bank of the river, and the little town of Norton in Derwent on the south bank. And we're now just on the river into Norton. Come with me on a 7-mile jog and we'll find out about the river, the railway, racehorses, Charles Dickens, and the place where my dad grew up. Isn't that fantastic? That was evil. Got all tingly. Where's this? Can I finish? More bog. You find out what you're made of. Frying bacon. So there's the railway over there on my left, and then we've got the river Derwent down here on my right, and I'm guessing that what I'm on here, possibly this is a route of an old railway, or maybe it's just a bank to defend in case the river floods, protect the railway. 7 AM, about 3 degrees, and I'll talk to you a bit about the railway later. But the river, back in the day, Yorkshire was split up into a series of ridings: the East Riding, West Riding, North Riding, and presumably a South Riding. And this river, the Derwent, separated the North Riding from the East Riding of Yorkshire, which in those days they were actually separate counties. I'm doing a route out up the side of the river and the railway, and then we did a curve round and then come back through the countryside, finishing up at Malton station. Well, strictly speaking, Norton in Derwent. But yeah, that's the plan for the run. My feet are soaking already. A little bit overgrown, but clearly people do use it. And as I rediscover the pleasures of spring running involving nettles and brambles, let me just mention the railway, which is immediately to my left here. There's only one line at the moment, the York to Scarborough line, and the LNER, London North Eastern Railway. There used to be 4 lines coming through here, and as such it was a really important stop on the journey. In fact, Malton was the place where the very first combine harvester ever imported into the UK was landed. It's beautiful and tranquil now, but once this was the main route for transporting coal and other agricultural products across this part of Yorkshire. An essential transport route for vital commodities. Why am I here? Well, I was planning to go up to Scotland, of course, for Balmoral this weekend, and then my daughter was invited to an open day at Leeds University on Wednesday, so I thought I'd drive her up there, stay over somewhere interesting, and then carry on with my journey the next day. So that's what I'm doing. We drove up to Leeds yesterday and did 15,000 steps wandering around various places, but also sat in a car for nearly 200 miles, so felt the need to get out and do something. You'd have thought I might have learned by now that running alongside the banks of a river can be quite a wet experience. I'm pretty sure that all this will have flooded, judging by how wet it is, and you can see where the reeds are up there. But what's interesting also, I don't know if you can see it, but just through there you can probably see a Coke can or a drinks can stuck in a branch. And that'll tell you how much higher the water level has been for this winter. This is not going to be a run where time matters, because there's trees down, the bank has broken away in some places, it's really sloping down to the river in some places, and yeah, bits have been washed away, so I'm just taking this steady. So there's going to be quite a lot of walking, and I also just want to enjoy it. My last run, if you follow me on Strava, then you'll know that my last run last weekend was a road half marathon, which was designed to help me keep consistent pace, which I was very pleased with. It went very well. But my future next two runs are long trails, so that's why I thought this would be perfect for today. This is us going under the York to Scarborough Railway. Hotton's Ambo Bridge. That's got a real Victorian feel about it, hasn't it? Lovely. That's the end of our first 3 miles, which is up the river, and we're now going to do the second 3 miles, which is into the countryside. There we go, much easier running now, back on a bit of tarmac, and the only real hill of the journey. My dad grew up in Norton, and hopefully we're going to find the street where he lived at the end of this run. But he was a big fan of Charles Dickens, my dad. But Charles Dickens used to come to Malton a lot. He had a friend called Charles Smithson, who was a lawyer in London. And Mr. Smithson's family had a law practice here in Malton. And young Charles Dickens would often come and visit Charles Smithson here in Malton, and absolutely loved it. He gained inspiration for his stories and his characters from people and places that he saw here in Malton. The story goes that Charles Smithson's lawyer's office here in Chancery Lane in Malton was inspiration for Scrooge's office in A Christmas Carol. And just nearby from here, I spotted on a map, there's a row of cottages called Ebenezer Cottages. Might that have given him inspiration for the name as well? So agriculture is massive around here. And you can see we've got sheep here, there are cattle on the other side of the river on that first section. There's some vegetable plantings up at the top. But the other big thing around here is horse racing. There are loads of horse racing establishments around here, about 20. In fact, at one time they said Malton had more horse stables than it had beds. It's always been big around here. The Easterby family, Peter and Tim, they're both local Malton lads. And the earliest recorded horse racing series around here is 1692. A series of horse races started called the Malton Races and went on for the next 150 years. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Yeah, this one's got triplets. So this footpath is what they call a permissive footpath, which means it's not a statutory one, but it's been allowed. And they've rerouted it because they don't want people running through the middle of their lambing flock. So it makes complete sense to me, so I always respect that. So we're now going to cross a golf course. There you go, Malton and Norton Golf Club. Which way now? It's this way. I think we're going to get feet wet again. And here we go. Beautiful racehorse. Morning. Look at you, furry. So this is the final part of my journey, and it's called Park Road. So what's the significance of Park Road? This is the street where my dad grew up. So it's pretty lovely here now, isn't it? Sadly, all the houses that I think would have been here in my dad's time, he was born in 1926, have now gone. But as I look out over this little field, and you think, that would have been smashing. Imagine growing up here, I can see a big pheasant in the field there, and this is lovely, but I found an Ordnance Survey map of 1926. So if you have a look at it, you can see Park Road right there at the bottom, with a railway just above it. And in front of all these houses, there was a foundry, steam railway goods yard, brickworks and a manure works. So it was probably a bit of a noisy, stinky, smelly place back in the day. There we go, nearly done. We're back on the banks of the Derwent. This skate park's very famous as well. It's actually, you can see, made of wood, and some really cool ramps here, proper big half pipe. Very rare to see something of that quality, and that particular one even had the great Tony Hawk supporting it when it opened. And here we are, bringing it to a finish at 7 miles. There's the Malton station, built over 160 years ago and pretty much unchanged since then. And I'm now back to go over the River Derwent and finish my run. Thank you so much for joining me. It's all done now. I'm showered, I'm cleaned, my shoes are steaming quietly over there with stuff full of newspaper, and I'm sitting down to edit the video. But one thing I did want to say is that Malton is known as the foodie capital of Yorkshire, and walking around the town this afternoon, it's really easy to see why. There are artisan producers everywhere, microbrewery, distillery, baker, ice cream, fishmongers, grocers, butchers, everything you can imagine. There's loads of cafes, patisseries, all of them are really majoring on local produce, so it's a lovely place for a visit. So if you're up this way, give it a go. Also, though, on the 15th of September, there's a 10k run called the Malton and Norton, which is a fun run. You're encouraged to dress up in food-related fancy dress. And the idea is that you go on your run and you sample all these local produce and local drinks on the way round. So it sounds as though it could be a right laugh. So if you like your food and you like your running, 15th of September, Malton and Norton, why not give it a go? Anyway, thanks for joining me. I need to get this edited because I'm back up to Balmoral in 3 days' time for a 15 miler in the Cairngorms. So let's go.